Have you ever wondered if your inner life, your growth, your struggles, your moments of real inspiration, isn't just random? What if it actually follows a pattern, a kind of cycle that we see all over the place, in nature, and even in the wild world of financial markets? Okay, let's really dig into this. For literally centuries, people have noticed this hidden code, this mathematical pattern that just seems to pop up everywhere. It's like a universal blueprint for growth, shaping everything from the tiniest seed to the most massive galaxy. It suggests there's a fundamental order to how things grow. And that code? Well, it's the famous Fibonacci sequence. We see it in the beautiful, perfect spiral of a nautilus shell. But here's where it gets kind of mind-bending. Analysts see these exact same mathematical ratios in financial markets. And remember, markets are driven by human psychology, our collective fear and greed. So the idea is that even our own behavior might follow this same natural rhythm. So that leads us to a really interesting question. If this code shows up in nature and in markets, what if we could use that same logic to chart our own internal world? What if that constant battle between our best intentions and our worst impulses basically acts like its own little market? To do that, we're going to borrow a really powerful analogy from currency trading. Let's imagine our inner life as a currency pair, spirit versus flesh. We'll call it SF for short. In this model, our spirit is the base currency. It's the anchor, what holds the real value. And the flesh, that's the quote currency. It represents our constantly changing desires and actions. Okay, so let's break this down. The spirit is our true north, right? It defines our real value and where we're headed. The flesh, on the other hand, is all about reaction, impulse, and those fluctuating appetites. It's the price we end up paying in our behavior. Think about it. When your spirit is strong, the cost of giving in to the flesh, it just feels higher, doesn't it? It costs you more, spiritually, to act on those impulses. And just like any market, this internal exchange really only has two main directions, two competing trends. You've either got a bull market, where the spirit is trending up, or a bear market, where the flesh is in charge and dragging things down. So, what does a spiritual uptrend actually look like? Well, you can picture it just like this chart. It's not about random good moods. It's a stable, structured pattern of growth. It's a series of higher highs and higher lows in your character. The key here is that we're not talking about one good day. We're talking about a persistent, overall positive trend in your life. And we actually have some data points for this bullish trend, right? From the book of Galatians. They're called the fruit of the Spirit. And these aren't just one-off actions, they're durable qualities. Think of things like peace and patience as your support levels. They stop you from crashing. And love and joy, that's the momentum that keeps pushing the trend higher. Okay, so if that's the stable, upward trend, what about the other side of the coin? What does the trend dominated by the flesh look like? Well, it's not a picture of stability, that's for sure. It's much more about chaos and impulse. And here they are, the works of the flesh. In market terms, this list just screams high volatility. You've got impulsive reversals, you've got emotional spikes, all that chaotic price action that just creates disorder, both inside you and in your relationships with other people. And what is volatility, really? It's just a fancy word for instability and uncertainty. When the flesh is driving our inner market, we feel this as emotional overreactions, those sudden fits of rage, those panic decisions. It's the kind of sharp emotional swing that can throw your whole life into chaos. It's a state of being defined by impulse. But here's the thing. Just watching the main trend isn't always enough. Any good trader will tell you that you need to use indicators to see what's really going on underneath the surface. So let's do that for ourselves. Let's get a little more advanced. So let me ask you this. Is it possible to look successful on the outside, hitting all the right marks in life, but be falling apart on the inside? Or, on the flip side, could you be struggling externally, but actually building incredible inner strength? This is where indicators become absolutely crucial. The key concept here is something called divergence. In trading, it's a huge warning signal. It happens when the price is doing one thing, but an underlying indicator, like momentum, is doing the complete opposite. This mismatch is a huge clue that the current trend is running out of steam and a reversal could be coming. Okay, look at this chart with me. The price is clearly making a new low. On the surface, that looks pretty bad, right? But wait, look at the indicator down below, the RSI. It's actually making a higher low. That's a classic bullish divergence. It's whispering to us that even though things look weak, there's hidden strength building up. The trend is probably about to reverse and head up. Now let's bring this back home to our inner lives. On the left, you've got that bearish divergence. Outward success, inward decay. Your career's climbing, but your inner peace, your humility, it's falling. That's a serious warning. But then on the right, you have the total opposite, bullish divergence. Outwardly, things are tough, a real struggle. But inwardly, resilience and character are quietly getting stronger. There's unseen growth happening right under that difficult surface. This is why it is so important to look at our lives on different time frames. The lower time frames are our daily emotions, our impulses, basically all the noise. That's where a sudden spike of anger happens. But the higher time frames, that's where we see our long-term character, the true, stable trend of our transformation. A single bad day, one little flesh spike, doesn't automatically kill a lifelong upward trend. And that brings us to the big picture, the ultimate long-term view. Because this kind of growth isn't a short-term trade, it's a lifelong investment in building a strong, lasting upward trend. Now, here's a way to think about this that I find really powerful. Spiritual disciplines as a form of algorithmic living. Now, that doesn't mean being a robot. In trading, an algorithm is just a set of rules you decide on beforehand to take emotion out of the equation, to help you execute your long-term strategy, especially when you're under pressure. And spiritual disciplines, they do the exact same thing for our inner lives. So what do these disciplines actually do for us? Well, they reduce the slippage between what we intend to do and what we actually end up doing. They put the brakes on those impulsive, emotion-driven decisions. And over time, they build that higher time frame strength, making us more resilient when we're stressed out or feeling emotionally drained, what a trader might call a moment of low liquidity. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's the ultimate bullish divergence. Our outward circumstances, even our own bodies, might seem like they're in a downtrend, but the true trend, the one that really matters, that inward renewal, can be getting stronger day by day, building towards something that lasts. So I'll leave you with this to think about. When you zoom all the way out and look at the chart of your one life, what's its dominant trend going to be? Just remember the big ideas here. Your inner life isn't chaos. It has a structure. You can actually track it to see if you're in that spiritual uptrend or a downtrend of the flesh. And those disciplines, they're your practical system for building that long-term positive growth. Will your life's chart show the volatility of impulse or the steady upward climb of renewal?